gold.
No worries.
So, it hit me today when I told my wife, I get it. I know who the guy looks like. I know who he reminds me of. The Rock. The Rock.
I'll take it.
That's
take it. He has about 50 pounds on me, though.
Yeah, but you know what? You fill up half a computer screen pretty well. So.
Yeah, the Rock is something else. What, 270 and just rocking it in business, and then I hope his life is as good as the business is because he's amazing.
He's it really is a success story of the highest order. So, what's your Friday been like? How you doing today?
I've been great. Have been on 2 interviews today. Just finished a webinar for a company out in San Diego, and that was absolutely awesome. And woke up early and made sure that all of my emails. I've been traveling quite a bit, so catching up on emails and making sure professionally the world is in order, so I can enjoy personally and relationally, kids and my wife this weekend.
That's a good way to do it. You got to try to compartmentalize to get the family in.
All right, listen. Work-life harmony is everything. So we got a good weekend planned.
Yeah, I wanted to start there because you and I talked briefly before, and work-life balance is the term everybody throws around. You didn't go there. You go work-life harmony. I think that's an important distinction, and I think you obviously do too because that's your brand. What does that mean?
Well, I know what people mean by work-life balance. However, how it makes me feel, it makes me cringe because work-life balance is like the anxiety of having this effort of having everything be equal and like on these scales. And sometimes you're going to work more than you play. And sometimes people are playing too much and not working enough. So trying to have this perfect balance can cause more stress. However, I believe we can have harmony in both parts, professionally and personally. And, when I first started off my business, like many entrepreneurs, you're working a job while launching your business. So I'm working 2 full-time jobs. I'm waking up early. I'm stealing time of in the day. You don't get more than 24 hours, but you can steal time. So I'm waking up early, staying up late. There wasn't balance in any of that. I'm working 16 hours a day. However, I had great harmony in where I chose to steal time, still being a husband, still being a father, being a professional, making sure that my employees were taken care of and the clients that we were serving were taken care of. So it was really important from a work-life harmony. It doesn't have to look as perfect as people think.
Yeah, especially when you're doing, like you said, what you're trying to do. I think one of the things that prohibits people from going out of their own is it does require next level commitment. You sacrifice, you do things that maybe just aren't comfortable. I've gone through it here with my wife. She's doing the same thing. And, it's tough when you're working your hardest job and you're not getting paid for it. That's when you must really love what you're doing because there's no every 2-week payoff.
And it's hard for everyone because it's hard for the person because you're putting in that, that commitment, but also the consistency. You're putting in the commitment and consistency is not paying off, and you're willing to be patient for it because you believe in it. However, your spouse, your family, it's harder for them to believe when it's not coming in. So hats off to you because it really is. It's difficult for everybody going through it, but you got to stay consistent with it.
You do, and and I've got a lot of respect for her. I tried it. I didn't like it. I don't like not having that. So, if she can do it, power to her. I admire anybody who's able to go out on their own. And, you have a story, not maybe this wasn't what you saw in your future when you were just getting out of school and grad school and the rest of it. You're in mental health for 15 plus 19 years. Is that right? 19.
Yeah.
19 years. And what was that was your calling, I would assume. That's what you studied in counseling and whatnot. Yeah. But who were you working with when you were a mental health professional?
I worked with an intermediate unit here in Pennsylvania, and there's a lot of them. And it was for acute partial hospitalization setting. So very quickly, students that struggled emotionally, psychologically within school districts, when they really struggled there and were no longer safe for themselves or other people there, they would come to a center. So it was a school, but it was also attached with mental health. So I was a therapist there, and then was elevated to lead a team of therapists there. And I was there for a long time, 15 years. And then after that, doing a lot of inpatient, outpatient, worked in some psych wards and doing in people's homes. So I was in every aspect of therapy, doing everything but addiction. That wasn't my thing. And I really, really did love it. I was a nerd about my craft. I tell people, whatever you do, be a nerd about your craft. So I really thought I would retire doing it. However, that was not the case.
Well, what was the catalyst to start in phase 2 when you decide, okay, I'm going to start doing something else?
Well, two things. A lot of times when people wind up doing what they're great at, it was an accident. They didn't mean, like, I didn't mean to be a professional speaker and leadership trainer and author. And to be very honest, I didn't even want to speak or write.
So, you didn't want to be a speaker?
No.
You're natural.
Well, thank you. But I didn't want to do it. So two things really were a catalyst for me starting what I do now. And one was going through a divorce. So 15 years ago now, like, I went through a divorce, and I'm like, I used to say I was a great father, but then you say, look, you're really not a great father if you really wasn't being a good husband. So I was a good husband, but I wasn't being as good as I could have been, and made some mistakes. And it takes two to do great, it takes two to do bad. However, I went through that experience, and I said, look, there's other men out there that are struggling in life and in their relationships, and their life is going down because they have nowhere good to go and no one good to do it with. So that was the catalyst. All I wanted to do was to start an organization. Back then it was called Men Evolving Now.
Okay.
All I wanted to do was to start an organization where men can come and leave better than when they came. And I didn't want to be the speaker. I didn't want to be the leader. I didn't want to write anything. I wanted to be the hair club president and the member. I just wanted to be there. So, like, come up with the questions and talk about it and things like that. That's all I wanted. And so that was 2011. In 2014, I said, I really want to do this as a business, because it started to grow. Like, it grew out of my living room, and then I'm doing this in cafes, and then we had a conference, and then women wanted it, so we had a women's division, and then youth wanted it, so we had a youth division on college campuses. And I said, I really want to do this as a business. And eventually that has evolved, and now it's me doing the all of that. I had a guy come to me and say, you have your website, you're gonna have to write, you got to build your SEOs up. And I don't even know what SEOs are. Like, I don't know, and I don't want to write. And I said, I'm a therapist. If I write one more progress note or one more thing, all I want to do is maybe do a video here or there and run this thing. But when you marry your dream and not the path, you're making a commitment and consistency to do some things you may not want to do. So I said, okay, I'll do it. So I put a timer there on a Sunday. I don't even remember the Sunday. It was a Sunday. And I said, all right, I'm going to time myself to how long does it take to write an article?
Okay. How long?
25 minutes. My first article. And I said, okay, I can do that. And I did that 3 times a week. And then now 3 books later, going into my 4th book, I never stopped. And it's just been a great experience. And the other part of, I have no knock on mental health. I'm not going to knock mental health, because some people are very great at it. And there's a lot of people who benefit from it. However, for me, the system was doing a poor job of taking care of the caregiver. And it became very hard for me, to do the living and the lifestyle. People don't think of what it really requires for the therapist, to have 10 clients a day. I said, when do I eat? Well, if somebody no-shows. So if people don't show up, I don't get paid. If people do show up, I don't eat all day. And then you're in a box all day long, hearing some of the hardest things to hear all day long. So
that would be the part that would scare me. It was almost like it would have to start pulling on you, I would think.
Certain things in certain cases will pull on you. However, what happens is the opposite, when it stops impacting you. And when people stop being people, but a labeled disorder, and like, so for me, I was just burning out. And although I was still able to impact people, my heart and spirit wasn't in it, especially when it was now being into this other thing, that I was loving and, quite honestly, being rewarded more for from a financial standpoint. And it was like, well, how can I be doing this over here, but I can't really talk about it here because it's not evidence-based practice.
Mm-hmm.
This was, it became something that it was time for me to walk away. And I had given all I could give to the mental health field. And now I get to do this, but also take the experience.
Yeah.
Being with so many great people and sitting with them in times of such struggle, but also such triumph. And then now really taking that skill to somewhere else. So I thank the mental health field for that.
Well, not to go totally off topic here, but, mental health is front and center. We hear about it more, at least in HR. We hear more about mental health than we do physical health now, for sure, because of the pandemic, people being isolated, people, having cut off from a lot of the social aspects of our life. And I would think, if it was hard before, I can't imagine the pressure being put on the actual therapists right now and the providers, because there's people who are struggling in numbers like we haven't seen before.
Well, absolutely. And work-life harmony matters for the caregiver as well. When I was a therapist for a few years, I was on something called the flight team. So when a school shooting or a school death would occur, we were the team that would go out and do this type of grief counseling. And you really find, and this may be true across all helping fields, that the helpers do such the worst job of taking care of themselves, for a variety of reasons, but it is the case. So I'm honored to be able to do leadership and work-life harmony, not only for organizations and big companies, but also the helping fields as well, because it's so necessary.
So Men Evolving Now, going back to that MEN, I get it, the acronym, nice. And so you're helping men, I guess, maybe find some voids or try to get that work-life harmony. What inspired that? I mean, I know you said you're going through a divorce yourself, but what were the concepts that were ringing true to you that you're like, man, I've got to share these things?
Well, it was, going through some hard times or wanting things or wanting more out of life or a relationship and not really depending or blaming other people, your partner, your kids, your job for not giving it to you. It starts with us when we start to invest in who we are, who you are, and you start developing you. It's amazing what you will then start to attract.
Yeah.
So I needed to be a better version of me to attract the jobs, the woman or the relationship that you want, or be a better father. You start working on you. And I tell my kids to this point, you sit down with somebody and they sit down with you and they start talking about their ex or the job and how they don't do this or this is that, and they still complain. Get up and run. Get up and run, because they're not ready. Because until they have said, this is what I was failing at, this is what I didn't realize, this is what I'm working on. If they're not saying that and starting there, get up and run. So for me, it was really going through that and really being, aware to say, what was I doing great? What do I need to improve at and evolve in? And then there were so many other people. And what I realized specifically for men was that men tend, you say every or all, you're wrong.
Right.
Men tend to wake up later than a lot of women. So around like 30, 35, a man will wake up and go, what the heck is going on in my life? What have I allowed or just stumbled through or into and just allowed? And they wake up and they go, okay, now I need to do something. And maybe church isn't for everyone. So everybody wasn't going to go that route, or personal development books. They went. So I wanted to create something where people could come and we can have honest, real conversation, and then they go back better. So that was a really, really big thing for me. And then when the women's division came along, that was really nice too, because men may not talk as much, but just because women may say more words doesn't mean that they were talking better.
Mm-hmm.
So being able to provide that was really, really cool. But then I transitioned more into the leadership part and work-life harmony for organizations. And, that's my where I'm at now.
Yeah, there's so much you said that just rings true. I'm chuckling because I've been through, very similar experience, and I've said the same thing. I know my friends have too. It's like, yeah, I'm a great dad. Now, maybe I wasn't such a great husband at times. And I think it was probably like 13 years ago. I believe it was 13, 14. My wife and I actually went through a separation, and we were going down the path towards divorce. We spent a year apart, and group therapy, group counseling never worked for us because it got to be competitive, right? But when I made the decision, and she'll say because she told me to do this, but I'm going to say it was self-motivated, to concentrate on what I needed to do to better myself, with or without a partner, just because, again, like you said, I need to focus on me and take responsibility for me, be accountable for who I am. And that was life-changing for me. I mean, it changed my attitude about marriage, about life in general. We actually, we reconciled after about a year and haven't looked back. Everything's been great. But yeah, no, I mean, those are the same things that you're saying, and men don't always, they don't get a second chance always because they've already said some things that unfortunately you just can't take back.
Well,
so,
and the women too, some things have been said. And, I heard one gentleman say, well, the testament of a man is that, he's got broader shoulders and he can, take everything and stomach everything. And some women believe that the definition of a man is you can take everything that I dish out. And men hurt too.
Yeah.
Men hurt too. And, so many things can be said in the heat of emotions and battles both ways. And I really learned one thing that I now, really help and train professionally and personally. And I'm big on marriage, preferably a great one, right? But this is marriage that I'm talking about. One, we all have something we want to do and give that we hold dear for a relationship or professional, right? This is what I want to get better at. This is what I want to give. If it doesn't match what the person receiving it needs most, so what? You are about to be busy being busy on your way to an adult or professional temper tantrum of, look how much I'm doing at work or in this relationship. Marry what you want to do with what they need most right now. And that's how you win. And whatever they need, you don't have to do it. You're curious enough to ask, I want to be great. What do you need most from me? They may say something that's easy for you to do. They may say something you're like, oh, crap, I don't really, I wish you hadn't have said that. Whatever it is, it's reasonable, doable, and fair for who you are and what you want to get moving forward. You do it, but you only do it a little bit outside your comfort zone. Not so much that you wind up becoming bitter at her or him or the boss or the employee. Do it a little bit outside your comfort zone. And it's amazing what will happen when you do that marriage, matching what you want to give with what they need.
Because guys, a lot of times we're just big dummies. And I can tell you so many times where I thought I had just done I planned the perfect date, planned the perfect trip, got the perfect gift, sort of sitting back, waiting to be, rewarded for that. And she's looking at it like, what's this? Because, I didn't know what I was doing. But, guys, luckily we do find people in our lives that can shape us up, clean us up, dress us up, take us out of the house occasionally. But so these concepts, I mean, these came from, I guess some of the pains that you were going through, some of the struggles, and then you made a business model of that. The men's group, the MEN group, sounds like a support group, and even as it grew, it's like a support group where you're sharing some of these things. But you've transformed that. This is a full-fledged business. You've got different avenues here. What are the main concepts that you find they resonate in corporate world that you were teaching people on a personal level?
From a corporate perspective, the things because this is a really funny story. I was really big into what we're talking about now, like personal growth, relationship growth. And when I've initially approached organizations many years ago about it, what they couldn't say, but they were saying was, this is nice, but how's it going to help us?
Yeah.
And I realized that, oh my goodness, they wanted leadership. But I didn't talk about leadership. And so I went back and I looked at all of the videos and the writings and everything. And I was like, oh, I'm already talking about leadership. I just never said the word. And when I added the word leadership to it, bam, it started to take off. Now, over the years, I've added more actual daily leadership things to do, for an organization and team and leaders and employees. But the things that really reign true the most are the 5 points of the day, because we all have 24 hours in the day. Leaders, no matter where you are in the organization or you're a leader of your own life, leaders use their 24 hours differently.
Okay.
So 5 points of the day. The leaders 3. And one of the first part of the leaders 3 is the vision and vision factors. Do you have a vision for your life professionally, personally? Now, a lot of people don't. And those that do, unfortunately, they stop with the vision. And I say, look, there's people that have visions of being a multimillionaire. Well, so what? What are the vision factors? The 3 to 5 things, when you do them consistently, the vision takes care of itself. So professionally, what's your vision? As an organization, what's your vision? As a person or your relationship, what's your vision? What are the vision factors? I spend all my time focused on the vision factors, because focusing on the vision is nice, but it's only a starting point. So that's a few of the things that really resonate with organizations, no matter the organization. And we have to start there with an organization. Start with personal leadership first.
Yeah.
Then we can get into the effective leadership skills. And now through COVID, because so many employers, so many higher ups over the past 18, 19 months, they were dealing with the same exact thing that their employees were for the first time ever. Everybody was on the same playing field.
That's true.
So they understood, organizations overall understood, one, we got to take care of our people. Work-life harmony stuff matters. Self-care matters. They knew it before, but they didn't have to invest in it because they weren't living the same thing. So now, like, the whole world was living the same thing. We need to do this. Plus it's leadership. It was a win-win.
That's pretty neat, because I know that now leadership, you couldn't do as much management, right? Because you can't see your people a lot of the times. They were off in a way, which is good. We don't need to be doing maybe more management. We need more leadership. That was a transition for a lot of people too, because it's harder to connect with your people when they're not there with you. Right. And you're seeing some people come back. It's hopefully same concepts stick, where we don't default to management just by activity. I see you. I think I read one of your things. It was a quote, and this refers to something you said earlier too, about stop being busy and start being better. Right. That's that whole activity equals results thing doesn't play. So that's.
Well, I call it the COVID effect.
Okay.
It's interesting. Like right now, we are on a virtual call.
Yep.
I love that I can see the pictures on your wall, a background. Who knows? A dog might bark. Your wife could walk by. We are so person to person right now, and I hope that people don't lose that going back into the office, because through COVID, the titles mattered, but they didn't matter as much. Frontline employees got to see their direct supervisor or CEO and got to see the painting on their wall. Somebody walked by, something. They were human to human, instead of sitting in that office feeling like they're in detention, sitting across from a desk. So now when people go back, I'm really hoping that people continue. And because we're on a Zoom call, we have to keep our head up, our eyes up. And now we go back to the office and everybody's at their cubicle or on their phone or walking through like zombies through the office. I really hope that we don't lose some of the positives that came through from COVID and virtual calls and things like that.
I think that's a great point. We were actually able to go into other people's homes, see them, how they live. And you're right. You can tell a lot by, I'll have calls with my team in the morning. And at first they did not want to have their cameras on. Who wants to have a camera on? It's like, well, I don't like talking to just a box that's just sitting there with a little name on it. And then they start getting a little bit more comfortable. And you do. You'll see somebody's cat sleeping behind them, or you'll see their kids are walking by, or they're wearing a ball cap. I'm wearing a ball cap half the time on these calls too. And I think it took away a lot of the austerity of, okay, you have the leaders and the workers.
Yep.
We're all going through it. We're all doing it.
Yep. And I really hope we don't lose that. And that's going to be the trick. And, how do you stay connected with your people at that type of level so they're always people to you? And the leader are people too. So many employees act as if their leaders aren't real people.
Yeah, like you don't understand problems because I've got problems. You don't have problems. You're in a better position than me. Mm-hmm. A few terms that you use, and I want to just see what you said about this. You had and I think about titling this podcast "Getting a Green Thumb" with Andre. What does that mean to you? Getting a green thumb for leaders?
Oh, well, for leaders, I talk about how to seed, weed, and lead. You got to have a green thumb. Now, I don't know much about gardening, but I do know you got to weed, seed. So from a seeding, standpoint, it's really important that when we bring people into our organization, onto your team, or into your life, you're not only bringing them in based on their skill set. So many jobs would hire based on skill set. You go to Indeed right now, they have the skill set. So you'll have a bunch of people applying because, hey, I have that skill or I have that training. However, I'm sure you've met people that they had the skill, but you don't want them on your team. They're negative. They gossip. Mm-hmm. They have a poor personality. They're rough around the edges with people. Whatever it is, they can have the skill set. So I want to seed with personality first. What are you looking for? What's your vision for the person that you would hire, that you would want on their team? My big expectation and rules, I want somebody who's positive, that I enjoy being around. Sometimes you ever go into a place and you meet the person at the register and you want to walk right back out. Seems like you're bothering them for doing the job that they applied for.
Oh, yeah.
Now, you've never met the CEO. You will never meet the CEO of that company because they are the face of that organization. That person behind the register is the face of the organization.
Yep.
And that face pushed you out the door. So I don't want to be around someone or have someone on my team that has that type of face. So it's something I even call vacuum eyes.
That's it. That's the term. I loved it.
I love it. Somebody that's looking at you and they got these big eyes and you can see your words filling up their soul, their spirit. You can see it. You can feel it. I hire a bunch of them. And now I can train you to be. So do you have a system in place that now you can train people, those type of individuals, to be what you need them to be? And when it works out, great. If it doesn't, find a different seat for them. What's their superpower? And if it still hasn't worked out, maybe you then have to let them go because they're the potential and they're not fulfilling that. However, a lot of times it does tend to work out. And a lot of organizations are starting their own universities.
Oh, so yeah, they're learning academies and whatnot. Yeah,
exactly. So they can hire who they really want and then train them accordingly. How to weed. We have to be willing to create some win-wins. And what I really and painfully understand is that everybody that starts with you may not end with you. So perhaps they were great to start. However, due to where the organization, where your team is going and what they need, they no longer have that. Maybe something professionally or personally has happened for them and they have changed. Whatever it is, are we willing to have the tough conversations with our people that are not meeting expectations? And, it first comes with knowing their language. I talk about the leader 7. So perhaps their knowledge and advancement or their flexibility. That's a big thing through COVID. People want flexibility. Mm-hmm. So I might say, hey, John, look, you have a second. Hey, you mentioned that your language was flexibility. It's going to be hard for us to continue being flexible with you strolling in at 12:30 every day. Can you help me to understand what's going on with that? Or not getting this project done on time. Can you help me to understand what's going on with that? So before we weed, We must be able to understand. But I want to lead with your motivation. You mentioned your language is this. It's going to be hard for us to move forward with this happening. Can you help me to understand what's going on? Now, I have no idea what you or that person might say, but I have a plan to move forward. And then we have to be willing to let go of the people that can't meet that standard and realize it's a win. Sometimes somebody's 45% effort on your team is better than the 25% effort that's happening over in company B. Right? They're better than that person, 25% over there, so they can be an asset to that team or organization over there, that relationship over there. And now you have a win where you have a vacancy where somebody can come in and give you more of what you're looking for. Now everybody's more joyful and where they need to be. So be sure that you're not weeding and losing people, though, due to your or our poor leadership, our organizational dysfunction. So if people are leaving, that's okay, long as it's not due to organizational dysfunction on your end or poor leadership on your end.
Well, and I think young leaders a lot of the time struggle because they were good at something, really good at something, and they find their career path advances. Then they're almost universally, probably overstating this, but they're unprepared for the nuance of being a leader. And then you also add to that the management tasks, and now you're coaching people and you're achieving results through other people. And that attitude, you mentioned if you don't like to see that face, or if you have somebody who's toxic on your team, that can be a career killer for a manager if you hang in there with that person too long. You have to be able to recognize that.
Well, I'm so glad that you mentioned that because, one of the reasons I wrote my book is because people will bring me in and say, well, our leaders don't know how to lead. And I say, well, why would they? Typically, that person sold $1 million worth of product and they were then promoted to sales manager. It doesn't mean that they know how to manage or lead anyone. All their success has meant up to this point is that they know how to sell $1 million worth of product their way. And when the people that they are now leading don't do it their way, all of a sudden they don't know what to do. And why would they? So I tell people all the time with what I call a leader's promotion, one, before you even get the one, as the person accepting the promotion, why are you accepting it? So many employees don't know how to say no to the promotion. Who knows how to say no to more money, more security, or come home to their significant other and say, I'm going to turn down this more money or titles behind my name? So you take it. Once you take it, please know what you are expected to do. What is the job that you are now getting paid to do? Because a lot of people, and I hear very nobly, I want to stay in the weeds with my team. I like being in the weeds with my team.
Man, I've heard that.
That's not leadership.
No.
You may at sometimes through crisis or deadlines have to roll your sleeves up and get dirty with your team, and you appreciate it. They appreciate it. That's good. However, that's not where you live. So know what you're expected to do. And I've heard, and I made the mistake. I wanted to hold on. I fought to hold on to my old responsibilities plus new tasks. And at first it was good. It was exciting. But 5 years later, boy, I was burnt out because the responsibilities kept raising. But then the old tasks, the company was used to me still doing them. And I didn't reveal to my team, to my staff, to my higher ups to say, hey, I'm burning out. My ego, I can do it all. So know what you're getting paid to do. What's the job? Then you got to be able to know the superpowers of the people on your team. Put them in the right seat. Who do you have and what are they great at? And then be able to delegate. Once you delegate, that's an art form. Who are you delegating it to? Why are you delegating it to them? And then what are you now going to do with this time that you've gained? If it's not enhancing the vision and vision factors that we talked about before, what you're going to do is successfully roll your sleeves back up, jump back in, and micromanage the heck out of your people. So you have to have what I call an evolving plan, an evolving idea. So when you delegate, you have something else to do and focus on that propels the company, the team, the organization forward. Then you got to be able to network appropriately. People get promoted, and sometimes you may be promoted to lead your friends, your ex-coworkers.
Done that.
Some of those coworkers or friends are no longer your friends because they didn't get the promotion, or you got the promotion, or they didn't like whatever. Or company policy says you guys don't engage after work hours like that. So network at your level and beyond. So your level with other coworkers, and reach out, send an email, or get lunch. Hey, I'm glad to be here. I know you've been doing this for a while. I just wanted to stay connected. Would love to know any advice you have for me, or what you do in this situation, what you like about it, what you dislike about different things. And you can do that at your company, on LinkedIn, or networking in your community, but network. And then from there, be able to be consistent and have one-on-one meetings with your people. Like, have your one-on-ones and stop canceling and rescheduling it, so you can stay connected. You know their language. You know what they want to get out of working with you and for you. And and then what you need from them. So have that meeting to stay connected, because it's amazing what people will do for you and with you and because of you, and forgive about you as a leader when they feel connected.
So you should never stop that either. And I think, our conversation today, I think prime example, I'm interested in interesting people. And I think you and I connected on LinkedIn. We started, kind of a dialogue, and it's like, wow, learn more about your background. It's like, man, that would be neat to hear more about that. And I think that, that curiosity, I love that about people. You want them to be curious. You want them to go outside their comfort zone. And, when you get to be old farts like me, I mean, present company not included here, you get more comfortable with, I don't have to do everything. I don't even have to be the expert at everything that's under my supervision. I find people who are good, let them do their job, and hold them accountable. And it's those soft skills of manager, when you're a high performing individual contributor and you get put in a role. That's why Michael Jordan's not a basketball coach. What's he going to do? Nobody's going to do it like him. That's why Ted Williams was a terrible baseball manager. It's just the way it works. So
I was on the phone with someone, Jamie Roots, great guy. He's the president of the Houston Texans, and he said what you said. He said, look, as a leader, you don't do tasks. You don't do all the tasks. So of course, you have tasks to do as a leader. You don't do all the tasks. You do your people that do the tasks. Mm-hmm. And when he said that, I said, whoa. Leaders got to do their people.
You do. And now, I like with an organization like yours, I imagine you're running lean. It's, you don't have like a team of 50 people, I would guess. So the individuals who are in your employ or in part of your team, what is it, like the one or two things you value most? Because you have to be real careful with your selection. I would say those vacuum eyes, you talked about that. What is it that you see in people that makes you want to bring them on as part of your team? What can our people learn by the way you do that?
On positivity, number one. Punctuality, number two. Accountability, number three. And forward thinking. Like, so one of my big rules with working for me or with me, one, be on time. Number two, we go back and forth because so much is remote and not outsourced. We go back and forth more than 3-4 times on an email about the same thing. Just get on a call, fix it up.
Yeah.
Number three is big for me. Please accompany your problem with a suggested solution. So therefore, my executive assistant, fantastic. So she'll very assertively, there was a problem with in an email. She was on top of it and fixed it. Or she said, hey, how about this? I was thinking this would help. Great. Now, when the problem is when the solution is accompanied with the problem, I tell my people, look, one of three things is going to happen. One, it makes complete sense. I'd be crazy not to do it. Let's do it. Number two, we might have to fine tune it and collaborate on it because there's a bigger picture that you don't know because you don't sit in my seat.
Right.
Or we're not going to do that because here's the bigger picture, or here's my vision and vision factors. And right now it's not aligned, and I don't want to put energy into something that's not its time. So maybe 6 months down the line, or maybe next year, however, not right now. Or can you fit your idea inside this bigger picture to make it work? If so, great. So my web team, hey, this is an issue. They come with with a solution, and now we do that. So for me, it's really big: positivity, accountability, forward thinking, and solution focused. Those three things. If you have that, we can rock and roll.
Man, I'm so glad to hear you say that. My people will tell you. I constantly say, attitude is everything. Attitude is everything. We run lean as well. So if you're going to stick to your job description, it's not going to be a good fit for you. If you're ready to do whatever, all hands on deck. You said something, because you're talking about one of the three outcomes, and you have to be careful as a leader too, because if you have people under you who really are curious and really are ambitious, they'll come to you with ideas, and not all of them are timely or right, or or even sometimes they're not the best idea. But you have to be careful when you get a great, or what they think is a great idea, they're presenting it to you, and it's not. You got to be careful not to squelch that, because boy, that's a good way to just slam the door.
I tell you what, this just happened to me literally 3 weeks ago. So, outside of my company, I also have a charity, the Andre Young Foundation. And because it's an official charity, nonprofit, you have to have a board. Now, I didn't want a board. However, you have to have a board. And this is no knock on my board, just didn't want a board. So I like to say I have the best people. They're fantastic. I kept it lean, as you mentioned. However, sometimes there's ideas that come out that are bigger than I want to do and put effort into it. I started this charity so I can, take some of the money from the business or some of the money from my speaking engagements, put it in here, and then help the community, and families in transition. So there's some big ideas that come out. And I had this conversation 3 weeks ago, and I said, listen, I hear you, and this is great. I don't want to stand in the way of growth and big ideas. So with that being the case, I like it. Now, what are you or we willing to do regarding responsibility, division of task and labor, because I don't have the time to do that. So how would we best move forward with you doing it? And
That's pretty tricky. Nice.
Listen, some people who have the biggest ideas are willing to do the least amount of work. Okay, they're idea givers. But there are people out there that are, and I don't mean this as a knock, that are blessed with ideas and vision. It doesn't mean that they also have the superpower of the follow through and the small things it takes, because one of the types of leaders is a visionary. So the visionary has big ideas. They hate the small steps. So I know where I'm comfortable at with that part of my responsibilities for my charity. If someone on my board wants it to be bigger, that's great. How do we best do that with the limited energy that I have to dedicate to it? And if we can come up with something that works, great. If not, great.
That's my wife's going to listen to this and point at me and laugh. That's it. I've got some ideas. Let me tell you, it's just I don't want to do all that stuff. So I mean, it's when you get down into it. But you know what? Know thyself, right? So if you've got that in you, then you also have to surround yourself with people who love the details and they dig into it. So recognize it in yourself. Yeah, you've mentioned several of your articles and you've mentioned books. Where can people find out more about you, and or where can people find your books, your articles, your videos? How do we find more about you?
Sure. For more content, I mean, the easy one stop is youevolvingnow.com. So it's YOU evolvingnow.com. From there, you can find out more about my speaking engagements, trainings for organizations, videos. It'll say YEN for You Evolving Now videos. All of the videos are right there for you to take a look at. You can also find me on LinkedIn. I'm really big on LinkedIn, Facebook under You Evolving Now or Andre Young. My books, so Evolve, 7 Ways to Love, and 7 Ways to Lead are on the website, or you can go to Amazon, wherever you get books. But the one-stop shop really is youevolvingnow.com, and everything that you need is there, including an app. So it's called the YEN Push.
Huh.
You allow the notifications, because my big thing is, one, it makes me cringe when people will call me a motivational speaker. Okay. So like I cringe because when I think of a motivational speaker, I think of someone that rah-rahs you up, and then you wake up the next day and you don't know what to do.
Right.
So I say, if anything, call me a motivational teacher. And when you like the things that I've shared and added value with, all of a sudden I leave and then no more me. So I said, well, here, download this app, allow notifications, and I will live in your pocket 5 days a week.
Oh, that's great.
So, it's something that everybody can have, and you have to ignore it because it's going to pop up. So
Right.
You're being busy. Make it easier. Make it hard to ignore me.
Well, I'm going to put all this stuff in the show notes so people can find you. But, that's kind of the way it's got to be now, too, for anybody who's really trying to provide instruction. I know that this digital therapeutics, that's the same kind of concept. But, yeah, reinforcement. That's fantastic. Your messages, that's one of the things that stood out, too. All very positive, all very forward-focused, not absolving yourself from responsibility of what we have to do individually. Because, fact of the matter is everybody's in a battle. We're struggling to do what we can. And I just think we need more good attitudes, man. I really appreciate your message.
Well, thank you so much. And I really like to say, we're all billboards. So you drive down the highway, you're going to see billboards, right? And they're advertising something. And whatever the thing that you need or are interested in, if it's on the billboard, you'll take a look at it and you're attracted to it. Okay. Now the billboards are built into our phones and pop up, right? We are all billboards. So be careful what you're promoting, because that's what you're going to attract.
It's true. There's no truer words. You're right. I mean, the law of attraction and the rest of it. You do also have one other designation that you're the first guest I've had that I'm pretty sure could beat me in a push-up contest. Everybody else, I would dust them. So, yeah, maybe we'll do that virtually. I might be able to edit it and get me some loops on that. But I really appreciate your time, Andre. I know you're a busy guy. I hope we get a chance to talk again. And I will let you know when this is coming out so you can share it with some of your listeners too. And be well, my friend. Bless you.
Thank you so much for having me and for you guys for listening. Appreciate it.
All right. Talk to you soon.
All right.
Bye-bye.
Bye.